don't got no assets.
It's beginning to look a lot like last year. Every game I watch.
We don't got no assets.
Ping pong balls, Portland's only way.
He's a terrible fit here, man.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show here on a Saturday night at Super Bowl Eve. The Blazers got 2 more games until the All-Star break, and today was an interesting game because you had Ashton Hagen starting, and you also had the debut of Delano Banton. So we got a little bit to talk about tonight, but man, this might be the first time I've been able to use these graphics and only had to put two-digit numbers this season, Eric. Two-digit numbers. Yeah, we hold the Pelicans. They were without Zion Williamson, but the Blazers hold the Pelicans to 93 points and lose by 9 because they just can't score the ball. Why was that? We'll get into why, and we'll get into this game. Eric, how's it going?
I don't know how to feel about tomorrow, Tori.
Yeah, we are. Me and Eric are Niner fans, in case you guys don't know. And we are amped up for tomorrow. And if you want to get amped up for tomorrow, check out our sponsor for this postgame show, BetUS. You can receive 3, not just 1, not just 2, 3 125% deposit matches with the link in the description and the promo code JOIN125. We'll take a look at some prop lines and spread lines a little bit later in this show for the Super Bowl tomorrow, and I heard something interesting, Eric, that I want to go into regarding Vegas and how they set spread lines and some of the methodology. Big word for me, but I would definitely want your thoughts on something that I'm going to bring up when we take a look at BetUS lines later on in the show. But first, we got to talk about this game. We got to tune in with chat. Chat, how's it going? How's your weekend been? How's your Saturday night? Did you enjoy this game? Did you go to the game? Let us know how you're doing in the chat, because right now we are just going through it, Eric. We're just, slugging along, and, you lose to the Pistons, but you're missing a bunch of players, and then you lose to the Pelicans, and you're missing a bunch of players, and it's just kind of like, you know what? It's starting to feel a lot like last year, because it's starting to feel a lot like a tanking stretch in a way, with all these random players playing and the Blazers losing and us not even having much to say.
Do you have that song on the soundboard?
Oh, I played it once. I got all sorts of sounds on the soundboard. I got all sorts of things queued up. But yes, I had it queued up. Shout out to Rich and his vocals, man. That's the best part of our post-game shows, is just Rich's singing from the Christmas album. But yeah.
To look a lot like last
Yeah, is it not, man? Like, this just felt like a tanking
No,
game.
it is.
This just, like, isn't even a game I can even be invested in. I was a little bit invested into Delano Banton's debut, but
Yeah.
this game would have been a lot more fun if Scoot was playing, I think. You know?
Well, as Elizabeth Allen pointed out, Delano had the Scoot stat line.
Hey, Scoot's been better lately. I saw somebody else say that too during this game. But yeah, let's just talk about the new Blazer, I guess. Banton, let me pull up his stat line here. He's tall, can handle, can pass a little bit, can defend a little bit, struggle shooting the ball. If he could shoot the ball, he might be able to be a role player. And you basically saw that tonight where he did some impressive things in this game, but struggled shooting the 3-ball. His first play as a Blazer was Jeremy Grant kicking out to him and him hitting a 3. But then he missed his final 4 threes after that because he finished 1 for 5 from 3, 5 for 14 from the field. Had 12 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 turnovers. Had a couple impressive moments. Had a moment where he fell like Scoot did on a dunk. You remember Scoot in the G League when he had a dunk and face planted after it? So Delano Banton took after him with that as well. He had some impressive moments. You know, it's kind of weird to see a tall guy like that handle the ball, other than Jeremy Grant. But yeah, I mean, this game I feel like kind of epitomizes his entire career where you know, he can do some things, but that lack of a shot has hurt him and kind of hurt him tonight. I don't know. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked the way he moves. He's not the greatest ball handler, but for his size to be able to handle it like that, I think is good. Tonight, we definitely needed someone to handle the offense, and for only being here a day or whatever, I thought he did fine. I'm not really going to get upset about the missed shots because we know he's not the greatest shooter. I don't think his form looks that bad, so I don't know. Maybe they can tweak something and figure something out there, but I don't know. I kind of like him as a like a third guard or something, emergency guard, but that's not like it's going to be the difference of anything.
Yeah, you know who he kind of reminds me of, actually, and I don't say this to be mean or critical at all, just in terms of, you know, some of his qualities, some of his attributes. Do you know who I'm going to say, Eric?
No, but we talked about a prospect the other day that I was trying to think of who it reminded me of, and today made me figure that out, but
With
go
Banton?
ahead and say yours.
Oh,
yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of Mario Hezonja.
Oh, no.
A little bit. Just like that tall point forward-ish, struggles with the shot. Like, some of the ways he drove in this game remind me a little bit of Mario. He's not full Mario Hezonja, but there was a couple of times where I was like, man, he looks like Mario. The thing is he's a guy acquired with basically nothing to take a flyer on him. That's great, you know? That's what Mario Hezonja should have been. The problem with Mario Hezonja was always that we brought him in to play a big bench role when we were trying to win playoff series. Like, that didn't make sense. So, hopefully he can have a better career than Mario Hezonja. I think it just comes down to, as it did with Mario for, when he was in the league, it comes down to being able to hit threes. And that's the thing for Banton. And his shot doesn't look too bad, but he has to figure it out. And if he can figure out, then it'll be easier for him to drive. It's a lot of the same things we said with Scoot. It'll be easier for him to drive. It'll be easier for him to run pick and rolls because guys will have to go over. That is the key for his entire offensive game because he can handle and he can turn the corner a little bit, but he's not super athletic, so he doesn't create a bunch of separation. So he needs to have a little extra room to beat guys off the dribble. He needs guys to play up on him. And that just comes down to being able to make defenders respect you, make defenders guard your three-point shot. So Is that a terrible comparison?
It's not terrible just based on like overall stuff. I don't know. Hazonia is more, to me, Ban's a little more like finesse, and Hazonia is a little more, he tries to use his size and power, but
Really?
I could
You don't
definitely see it.
remember the wide open? He has an open dunk, double clutches underneath, flips it
No,
up off the backboard.
I'm
That
saying
was-
he's like clunky
Hazonia
because
was
of his
finesse.
size. Whereas, yeah, I don't.
Being smooth.
But
Yeah, there's
I don't
definitely
think it's a bad, yeah.
there's big differences. There's big differences. It's just with these guys, man, with these tall guys with skills, I feel like just the biggest separator is being able to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It makes such a huge difference. And you could say that's the case with guards, but a lot of these guards are like smaller and quicker and can, run the game off of that. These bigger dudes that are a little bit slower but have skill, just such a crucial thing for making that skill come alive. So he comes in, he hits his first three. I'm like, let's go. Then misses his last four. Just kind of the epitome of everything with him.
We took that one weird one where he pump faked and then went under and threw it at the
Step
rim.
through, yeah.
I don't know if
that was
that
a three, though.
counted as a three or not,
think it
but
was a
yeah,
two.
that was a weird shot.
But
I mean, I don't know. I don't think he played bad. It's just
No.
it just doesn't make shots, and like you said, that's what separates players in this league and not players. So.
Yeah, 100%. And him being a 6'8" guard allowed them to do something tonight that was a bit different. So they were running lineups out there in this game where they had like all guys 6'8" or taller. And this defense loves to switch, right? Chauncey loves to switch. When we're running 2 or even 3 guard lineups, he'll still switch guards onto bigs and they'll have to battle and this and that, right? But they just played with more length in this game because they had Ashton Hagans as, the only guy under 6'7"? Other than, I guess you got Matisse Thybulle as well, but Thybulle can kind of guard up a little bit. Like, he's a crafty defender. So those are your only 2 guys under 6'7", 6'8", or whatever. So they were running a lot of lineups with a bunch of guys that were 6'8", and a bunch of guys that can actually, like, move at 6'8", 6'9", Banton being one of those guys, Kamara being one of those guys, Grant being one of those guys, Jabari even. And then you're running with 2 centers that can both move in Ayton and Baji, and I feel like that's a big reason why they were able to hold down New Orleans to 93 points. I think some of it was they played a very, very slow pace because it's not like New Orleans shot the ball too terribly, but the Blazers 5 fast break points, so it was kind of a slow-paced game. But you hold a team to 93 and a team with some offensive talent, you got to be doing something right. And I think a lot of it was when they switched, they weren't getting picked apart or anything because you're switching 2 6'8" guys compared to, a 6'8" and a 6'2" guy, or a 7-footer and a 6'4" guy.
Yeah, at the same time, I mean, they settled for a lot of bad shots. Ingram, 8 for 21, CJ, 2 for 14. They took, obviously, a majority of their shots. I thought they didn't do a very good job of getting Trey Murphy and Valanciunas the ball. Those guys were cooking.
You don't think some of that has to do with Portland having length on the defensive end, though?
Well, Ingram is the type of guy who's always going to settle for those mid-range jump shots, and there's not really anything you can do about him. And he just was missing them today. I felt like he was just off. And CJ, I think the length helped on CJ for sure. But he also missed at least 5 wide open threes that he probably should have hit some of them. But I mean, obviously the length bothered him a little bit. I didn't feel like they were just like locking him down,
Yeah, I mean, but 4 CJ's misses, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, and Najee Marshall, 3 guys who I liked in their drafts, Eric. Those are 3 of my guys. They combined to shoot 9 for 12 from the 3-point arc. So they made up for it. Herb hit a couple of threes. Herb was great. Trey Murphy was great. He was 5 for 8 from 3. Najee Marshall, who coming into the league, that was one of the question marks with him, but like he had some, little bit of playmaking, a little bit of slashing ability, some little traits. This is why I liked him. It was just one of those guys where like, okay, if he can start consistently knocking down threes, then you have have a multifaceted role player. That's exactly what Najee Marshall's become. He makes 2 threes, including like a super tough one on Grant. So they shoot 37% from 3. They kind of made up for CJ's misses. It wasn't CJ's night. He was very rough and just missed a lot of quality shots, but still 7 assists, 1 turnover, plus 22 when he was in the game. Like, I feel like sparked a lot of their offense when he wasn't shooting the ball. And he didn't I felt like CJ didn't force a ton of shots either. This is like a recap to 2-3 years ago. I feel like CJ did a good job like trying to collapse the defense, kick out, and that's where Trey Murphy got a lot of their threes. When you go and play against Herb Jones, you're hoping that he's not shooting the 3 ball too well. In his career, he struggled to shoot the 3 ball, but this year, according to the broadcast, up to 40%. Really good for him, considering he can defend. Really good 3-and-D guy. He also had 5 assists and only 1 turnover, so love Herb Jones. Yeah,
I love Trey Murphy, man.
And you love Trey Murphy. I love Trey Murphy in the draft. They just get the forwards that I always wanted Dame to have, you know? Like, if he wasn't going to have a star forward, they have really impressive role players at the forward spots, and I think it's actually going to make them a tough out even for one of those top 4 teams in the West come playoff time.
Yeah, I think Trey or Herb, too, both of them would be really good on this version of the Blazers, too.
Yeah. I mean, this team needs shooting. This team is freaking shooting. They go 6 for 21 from 3. I know they're missing guys, but it's like, how many guys? I'm talking about all these 6'8" guys, but how many of them can you trust to do anything offensively, right? Like Jabari can finish a little bit, but he's shooting 28% from 3. Tamani's shooting 28% from 3. He goes 1 for 3. Chris Murray, 22 minutes, shoots twice, Eric. And basically, it's just like either he had a 3 or he drive and just immediately look to give it to the next guy, and he's not aggressive at all. Delano Banton talked about his shooting struggles. Like, you're going into a game like this, and your second best shooter is Matisse Thybulle, and he goes 1 for 5 from 3. Like, that's kind of the thing with the Banton pickup is he's intriguing because of his size and skill. But man, this team at some point will need to get more shooting.
Yeah, it's very apparent, huh?
Very. It's brutal. It's a brick fest, man.
Yeah. I mean, it hadn't been as bad like the second part of the season so far, but the first part, remember every game we were talking about how bad the shooting was, and I don't know where we're at now in terms of like 3-point shooting and stuff like that, but we were pretty far back there near the back of the NBA earlier in the season.
Yep. Right now, the Blazers they've actually worked their way up to 25th.
Nice.
35.4%.
Improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, so still though, like, they got a lot of the same archetype of fringe rotation player, it feels like. And Banton's a little bit different, but in terms of being a 6'8", 6'9" guy that struggles to shoot the ball, he's just another one of those guys.
Yeah. I mean, we can get into this later, but I don't know how, unless they make some moves or cut someone else, I don't know how they keep Banton long term. So I don't know. It feels like they just picked up an extra 200,000 plus guaranteed next year for no reason.
Yeah. We'll see how he looks, obviously, and then we'll see what they do with him. But yeah, a lot of questions coming up this summer. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Ayton in this game, 18 points, 17 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals, had 3 turnovers, 9 for 18 from the field. I mean, good game. It's not the most efficient game, going 9 for 18 from the field, not shooting the 3 and not getting to the free throw line, although there was a play where he was saying he got fouled, he got hit in the face. I thought his shot selection wasn't bad. I felt like there was a couple of plays where he tried to take it strong, but a lot of times Valanciunas just camped in front of him and gave him that mid-range. And that's when I want him shooting the mid-range. I want him trying to get to the rim. And right now it's not like he had a guard that could set him up for those super easy buckets that would help him have a more efficient night.
Right. Yeah, they tried a lob that got broken up. They tried to throw it over the top a couple times. there was a post up earlier in the game where he did try to take it right at Valanciunas. But yeah, for the most part, he was spitting out again and shooting a lot of mid-range, which is fine. He hit 9 of 18. It's not bad. But like you said, when you don't get to the free throw line, it's tough. But yeah, I thought he did a decent job rebounding and protecting the rim tonight.
Yeah, it was funny because the broadcast started talking about, how he's like the third best mid-range shooter in the league, and the two guys ahead of him shoot a lot of threes, but Ayton hasn't attempted a three all year, and Calabro said he's going to ask Chauncey Billups about it next interview about Ayton stretching his game out to three. I'm actually very curious to see what the answer for that is, because, man, in a season like this where you're 15 and 37 and you brought Ayton in, investing a lot of money in him, trying to stretch out his game. I'm still baffled as to why he doesn't like to shoot threes, or why this coaching staff doesn't seem to be instructing him to just let it fly. Because if over the next month and a half, Eric, the season's lost, you're just trying to find things for the future. Mm-hmm. If Ayton could find any sort of confidence and rhythm from behind the 3-point line, even if it's like 30, even if he shoots 30% on threes on 3 attempts a game, maybe he can build upon that next year, and maybe he can get that up to 35%. We kind of saw Nurkic have a year where he started trying threes but really struggled, and then last year shot the three ball decently. And was able to stretch out a little bit, and when he would hit one or two, like, defenders started having to respect it, and he was able to bring the big man away from the rim. I want to see Ayton try and do that. If he shoots bad, whatever, it's a lost season. He should just be shooting every open three with confidence, and then seeing if he can find something there that could be beneficial to this team in the future. Like I said, it's all about finding stuff for the future.
Mm-hmm. And if there is some adjustment when you start shooting threes, like instead of rolling to the free throw line, you have to roll back to the 3-point line like Reith does. And then you also have to be willing to let some fly. And there's going to be games where even if you're shooting 35-40% from three, you're going to miss your first couple threes you shoot. Do you still have the confidence to shoot that third one and keep trying?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So that is something that would be beneficial to start learning and figuring out now, if he has the mindset and the ability to maybe expand his range out. I don't see how he couldn't. And they always mention this on the broadcast. I saw it firsthand in the one game I went to this year. He's definitely out there working on his 3-point shot prior to the game starting. So, like, what's the point in putting in all this work if you're not even going to attempt a single one? But going from not attempting a single one and not having that mindset that you're a 3-point shooter to all of a sudden shooting them will take some time. So I completely agree that they should use the rest of this season to try to see if he can figure that out.
Yep. We got Fun P in chat, who's not very fun, saying, did Scoot play today? Did he suck as usual? Scoot has been out, but Scoot has not sucked lately when he's played. So chill, relax. Shout out to Kyle Wilson, $5 donation, says, how pissed am I with this team? Try so pissed that I bought NBA 2K24 at a 70% discount just so I could fire Chauncey and give Ruper some damn minutes. Thank you, Kyle, for the $5 donation. Yeah, Ruper, I don't know what he did to Chauncey, man. I don't know what he did, because you're still seeing Justin Minaya play ahead of him. Justin Minaya only plays 2 minutes, but he literally subs into the game in the first half ahead of Ruper. I'm like, oh, great, here we go again. And then first time he touches the ball, he turns it over. Okay, then like one of the following defensive possessions, he almost falls down because he gets his ankles broken, not by a dribble, not by a crossover, by a pass fake. It was just, I'm not rooting against the guy or anything, nothing against the guy. He's 24 years old. He's a two-way player. You got Ruper, who supposedly they had a lottery grade on, and was supposed to be a steal in the second round, right? And Ruper's 19 years old. He's a part of your future. I'm not even saying Ruper's better than Minaya, but I don't think Minaya is better than Ruper. Minaya has done basically nothing every single chance he's gotten in the NBA, so why not just play your 19-year-old, give him some reps? and let him go, let him play. Because the last time we saw him play extended minutes, he hit clutch threes in the fourth quarter. I mean, come on. I'm starting to worry, Eric, that this organization thinks it has to coddle young players more than it needs to. And I'm kind of wondering if that's the case with Ruper, because I can't explain it. I don't know why they won't play him ahead of Justin Minaya.
Yeah, well, first off, it'd be one thing if Minaya had done a single thing in any of his minutes this year, right? I mean, maybe he's had a couple of good defensive possessions or whatever, and yeah, no offense to the guy, but he's a G League player, and he's not. He doesn't have the frame, he doesn't have the size, he doesn't have the ability to be a long-term consistent NBA player. He's just like a hustle guy that can maybe, be an end of the bench guy at best. Whereas Ruper has, like you mentioned, they had a lottery grade on him. That means you probably think he has starter upside in this league. So I don't understand. And then I have to look on frickin' Twitter about all these frickin' comments like, oh, the dude's not ready. He's not ready to play. Who the F cares if he's ready? Like, why are we caring if he's ready or not? We're losing every game anyway. Like, does it matter if we win these games? Like, no, it doesn't. Like, so why? It'd be one thing if we're like, five games out of the play-in or something right now. We have like a chance if we just start winning or something. But like, I don't understand why in this season right now we're arguing that he's just not ready, or like what happens if he sucks or whatever. Like, who cares? Yeah. And like you said, it's not every player just would come in and suck and then you lose them for the rest of their career because they had a couple of bad games, like he's done fine in the G League with minutes. I know the last few games he's struggled a little bit with his shot compared to his first 15, but his numbers over the 20 games he's played in the G League are still decent. His NBA numbers are better than Justin Minaya even in limited minutes. I don't get it, and that's the only thing I can think of why he's not playing is they actually are still trying to win these games and don't think they can win playing him and think that
it's
Minaya.
It's just a bad decision,
I know.
If that's the case.
That's I know, but that's like the only thing that makes sense based on their comments and everything, yeah.
Why are they trying so hard to win games, man? We talked about this before the season, like, the number one thing is development, and if wins come by way of developing young players, great. That's a great development. But don't sacrifice that at all to try and scratch and claw every win. And I was saying that before the season even started. We're 15-37. Literally, there's a greater chance of me owning the team one day than us making the play-in this year. Because the play-in team right now in 10th place, unfortunately, is Golden State. They've been winning games, so that pick's getting a little bit worse. But they're 25-25 in 10th place, right? They're 500. In order for us to go 500, we have to go 26-4 the rest of the season. Come on, man. I don't understand the thought process, and it's like, I just don't understand this organization ever. It just continues to baffle me, so.
Like Diaquino says, Ruper doesn't have experience being on the court, so you cannot give him experience on the court, but he can only play when he has experience. It's like, how does he get that experience then? Like,
yeah.
And Garben wants to know why you're wearing a Sun shirt.
Everybody thinks this is a Sun shirt. It's not a Sun shirt.
It does look like a Sun shirt.
But I was rooting for the Suns today because they were playing the Warriors, okay? And we want that pick to be better, okay? So give it a break. It's just the Valley can be something other than the Suns. It can be the Willamette Valley, although we don't have cactuses in our valley. So, yeah, it does look a lot like a Sun shirt, but it's not. I got it at Kohl's, so.
Yeah, I don't understand, especially when we're missing so many people. And Repair can handle the ball a little bit. It's not like he's completely inept. Like we need people that can bring the ball up the court right now.
Yeah, I agree. Part of the reason I got this shirt, because there's a comment, the font looks like Suns Valley. Part of the reason I got this shirt is so I could wear it if I like hop on a Suns Valley stream when they're not playing the Blazers. So
Yeah.
that was part of the logic, just so I could get some of those Suns fans to not hate me. But yeah, I don't understand the repair minutes thing. It's baffled me all season long. Frustrating. I am so tired. I literally, Naya gets in the game and I just get mad.
Yeah.
And maybe I shouldn't care that much, but man, I just, part of it too is I want to watch repair.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Like, give us something we want to watch, man. Like, it's like, we're going to play these veterans, we're going to play our older guys, we're going to play Manaya because we want to win games, and, there's speculation like, yeah, they're worried about ticket sales, they want to keep fans invested. It's like, play the 19-year-old who we all want to watch then. Play Scoot more minutes then. It's really not that hard. If you're going to suck, do it with young talent that we can have hope in. The problem is we play guys we have absolutely no hope in. I have no hope in Justin Manaya becoming a key contributor for the Portland Trail Blazers winning a bunch of basketball games ever. I actually have a little bit of hope in Ruper potentially being able to contribute to winning basketball games with this organization someday. I have a lot of hope for Scoot Henderson. So guys like that, play them. It's good for development. You could argue at times that it may even be better for winning right now, and that's what keeps fans invested. I felt so checked out of this game because Scoot wasn't playing. And I was thinking about this, Eric. If Scoot was playing, I would have been so much more invested in watching the game just to watch Scoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chat, do you guys feel the same exact way? Do you guys feel differently? I want to know how you guys feel, because I want to know how many of you feel the same way I do in regards to watching Scoot.
I find myself not caring about wins or losses anymore. And that's all I cared about tonight. I was so bummed when Scoot wasn't playing.
Yeah.
But Tori, you can't say that we need to play repair because we already play too many rookies.
Yeah. I mean, but Justin Manaya as a second-year guy goes out there and plays like a rookie, and that's different somehow. Yeah. I get it. Looks like a lot of chat agrees with me. Yeah, like, it'll be exciting when we start tanking to watch Scoot play 36 minutes a game and hopefully break out like Sharp did last year. That was the one thing about tanking last year, Eric, that was different than the year before, was Sharp started dominating. It was like, oh my goodness, this guy could be amazing. Look what he's doing at 19 years old.
And I laughed every time we tried to ISO Jeremy against one of the best defenders in the league, Herb Jones. and then like last game, like the last like 9:58 or whatever it was, and then all of overtime, we ran basically ISO Jeremy every single play, spamming it. And I keep thinking, well, this is exactly why Tori and I talk about stuff that happened in a game and harp on it so much earlier in the season or in previous years that lead to this happening. Because if the Blazers weren't so ISO heavy with Jeremy all season, maybe some of these other players would feel more comfortable taking shots down the stretch of a game, or they would be running an offense where everyone touched the ball like they've done at times, and they would feel more comfortable and not feel the need to have to keep going to Jeremy even when he's dead tired and doesn't have it, or tonight when he's being guarded well and can't get a decent shot the whole game. Like we still try it, and that's my problem. By now we should be starting to see them have some other things they can do with their offense and schemes and stuff. And it drives me crazy that it's just still, let's just give Jeremy the ball and hope that he has another 49 points.
Yeah, it's like playing to win, not playing to develop, because nobody learns anything just watching a guy go one-on-one. You know what I mean? And it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch as a fan, too. It's like you got all these young guys, you don't run, you have 5 fast break points, and then in the half court, you're just force-feeding a guy. You could make the case it's the best thing to win in a game like this, given who we had on the floor, but guess what? We lost. And guess what? We lost last game kind of doing it, too. nobody else stepped up, so I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't blame Jeremy or the fact they were trying to ISO him, but he hasn't been super efficient as an ISO scorer this year, regardless. I'd rather just work on building good habits with these young guys. Work on developing some sort of consistency within our system. But the biggest thing with this team and the biggest thing with Chauncey is the lack of an identity on either end of the floor. And part of it is due to the roster as well. Part of it is due to roster construction. But we have no identity. And then what is our culture? Like, just feels like there's nothing to fall back on as a default in terms of the style we play with, other than let's just give the ball to Grant or Simons when he's healthy and just let him ISO. And it's just getting even more frustrating, and that's where it's like, for this rebuild to be successful, you obviously need young guys to pan out, you need to stockpile assets. But you also need to create a culture. You also need to find an identity on both ends of the court. Those are very crucial things for this organization to do as quickly as possible. But I feel like we haven't really made any progress in that regard this entire season. And I felt like the only thing that was better in the 2 years before that, since Chauncey got here, was we had Dame. That was it. Without Dame, it was the same exact crap. So that's something we need to figure out. I don't know if we have the people to figure it out.
I'm pretty confident we don't.
Yeah, I'm being nice by saying I don't know if we have the people to figure it out. Fun Piece says, come on, guys. You guys have been hard and great for a while saying trade him. He scores almost 50. He's 40% 3 and efficient. Why the Grant hate? He's amazing. It's not hate on Grant at all.
What? How are we hating Grant?
Grant was really good last game. Okay? None of this is a criticism of Grant. None of this is us saying, like, Grant shouldn't shoot 20 times or 25 times in a game like this. Mm-hmm. Some of it, like, this conversation is entirely, we shouldn't over-rely on spamming ISO possessions with him when we're trying to develop young players. That's the point. Yeah. So it's not Grant hate at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to reiterate that. Spamming ISO Jeremy's is a coaching thing, not a Jeremy Grant thing. It's not his fault that the coach wants him to get run into the ground having to score, and he's dead tired, and we're just keep going to him over and over again. I mean, he's been pretty good this year. That's exactly why I wanted to capitalize on his value. Same with Brogdon. Like, it's nothing against Brogdon as a player. Those guys, in my opinion, wanting to trade them is different than us being haters or criticizing them or whatever.
Yeah, and it's the same thing when we talk about Anthony Simons, right? And people say I'm higher on Anthony Simons or I defend him too much than most of the fan base. Like, I feel like, I just feel like I'm higher on him than a lot of Blazer fans. I feel like he gets criticized a little too much.
We,
both of us, this channel in general, right? But a lot of times when I defend Ant, it's people calling him ISO heavy, and it's like, that's our system. Like, he's literally being forced to isolate a ton, and that's a problem. But that's not Ant's fault, and that's where I think people go wrong when they blame Ant solely for ISO possessions and stuff like that. So we gotta find an identity, man, because I understand in a game like this where you're playing Ashton Hagens, Delano Banton, like, it's going to be tough to play off each other. You don't have much chemistry. But at the end of the day, like, I always feel like people don't differentiate between, oh, it's hard to do that when you have these new guys, and, like, okay, but you can still try to do that, even if it's going to be rough. I felt like some of our best ball movement came off freaking Ibu Baji passes, Eric.
Yeah. It didn't show up in the box score, but he had a really nice pass from the top of the key to a cutting Chris Murray, who ended up passing it out. But, he had that kick out to Chris for his three.
There's another pass he had that impressed me. I forget what exactly happened, but yeah.
Him and Hagens, man, they both, I think they're both scared to shoot. They have so many more opportunities to score than they shoot the ball. But, I think they're just trying to not mess up.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Because Higgins doesn't play like he does in the G League. Like he's like a shoot every time type of guy if he has to be on the remix, and now he's like very passive and won't attempt many shots.
Yeah. I just, I understand that it's not going to look pretty. You bring in 2 new guys, basically, and have this lineup, this roster. I understand that it's not going to be executed well if you're trying to move the ball, trying to cut, trying to play off the ball, etc. I understand it's not going to look pretty, but you should still try and do it. And that's where, when I talk about identity, right, if you got a playoff team, right, that moves the ball well, and that's their identity, and they end up getting some guys injured, and they bring in, maybe a 10-day guy that has to play, or a couple of new guys, they don't completely lose their identity. They don't just start spamming ISO possession after ISO possession to guys. They'll still move the ball. And there is a personal aspect in play, but I feel like instead of trying to preach like cut, make the right play, if you don't have a shot, give it up, it's literally just like give the ball to Jeremy and get out of the way. Little bit too much. So I don't know. Maybe being overly critical with that, but I just want this team to find an identity offensively. It does suck that they have these guys out because they were starting to move the ball better lately, and I think that had something to do with Ayton's good play. I would like to see them continue to try and do that no matter who's on the floor, and I want to see that become a consistent identity within the coaching staff.
Yeah, so Kyle Neely says, I'll be the bad guy. I don't like Grant. I don't like his selfish style of play. I really wish they would trade him and focus on the youngins. Well, the last part is different than your first part. I think we've done a pretty good job of explaining this over the years, but I do not think it's Jeremy's fault. We actually heard Chauncey earlier in the season say he wants Jeremy to take bad shots and he's going to have to shoot a bunch on this team, and Jeremy's reluctant to do so. And so like they're basically forcing him to have to do that. So I don't necessarily blame Grant for that. It does get frustrating at times, but it's just like with Anthony, and if it was different in years past, like oh, look how well the ball moves when Jeremy's not in the game for these Blazers, then it'd be one thing. But it's not. It's a common theme no matter who's in the game. So I can't really blame it on one person, the ISO stuff or anything other than the coaching staff.
Yeah. Yep, agreed. Kyle Neely does say Higgins had a great drive and dish and stole the inbounds, passed it to Grant, expecting to pass back to keep his positive momentum, and Grant just keeps sending ISOs. That play I also did notice, and I did not agree with Jeremy's shooting there. Mm-hmm. But also at some point when your coach is just spamming ISO with you, you get into that mindset where like, okay, I got to take the shots. And it feels like Grant gets stuck in that mode at times. That was a play where like I would have loved for him to give it back to Higgins, young guy playing the second NBA game, has a bucket, gets a steal, is hyped up, and then is wide open for 3, one pass away. Like just kick it to him and let him shoot, let him try and make another play. Let him build off his confidence. Like that's what good veteran mentorship should be on the court when you're 15 and 36, 15 and 37. Should be being cognizant of that, right? But he shoots a contested mid-range that he misses, and yeah, I wasn't a fan of that play.
Yeah. Agreed.
Tyler
James says, did anyone else see Cronin jump out of his seat in the fourth quarter when Higgins got a late call on a shot in the post?
No, I didn't.
I didn't catch him jumping out.
Good for Cronin, though, I guess. I don't know. Justice Winslow back in the league with the Raptors, yes. G. Willikers says, just got back from the game. We booed the hell out of Chauncey for y'all. Really? Were you at the Milwaukee game? Was it louder than the Milwaukee game? Because it's pretty loud at the Milwaukee game. Chat, what do you want us to talk about? I feel like we've kind of talked about everything we can talk about in this game. I mean, Tamani Kamara has to try finishing stronger. His best drive was when he dunked. He'll like get a step, but then he'll like contort and like flick something up from his shoulder that has no touch on it because of the way he's shooting it, right? He just has to extend and go strong to the rim or the backboard.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing with him and his drives.
I saw this narrative a lot during the game. Trevor Williams says, I'm starting to feel like Cronin has decided to already put this team into tank mode. I get why people are saying that, but why did we why did Ayton come back and play then? Why did Ayton sit out again? Why did we play Grant and Thibault?
Grant played 41 minutes, Ayton played 37.
Yeah, so that leads me to believe it's not. It's just, I mean, because Ant and Scoot and Sharp, obviously, they all have legit injuries. Yeah.
I don't know if this team is going to want to commit to a tank as early as they did the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And part of that is the top of this draft isn't as good, so there's a little less incentive. And part of it is they are starting to notice how checked out the fan base is. They're starting to see the hit on ticket sales in a way that I don't even know if they saw it the last couple of years, because at this point of year, you still had Dame on the floor and people would still show up simply to see him, right? And it's funny, how desperate they were even before the season, where, your mom had a story of a season ticket rep telling her that Joe Cronin would make us forget all about Dame. And she didn't want to not renew her season tickets because she didn't want to miss out on this and that, which is just ridiculous. Cool. She misses out on a 15-37 season. Oh, man. How could you ever miss out on that? Like, they are getting to the point where they're starting to worry a little bit about ticket sales. You talked about it going into this year, Eric. Their entire mindset, I think, before the season was, okay, we're in a position where there's no expectations, right? So we can always fall back on that. But they were hoping that this team would be able to be in the play-in contention range, like 9th, 10th, 11th seed, so that it could look like a great move by Joe, right? They traded Dame and got young and have all this young talent, but they're sitting there already in a play-in with all this young talent. And, they could do it without Dame. And you talked about that all before the season, and then you hear Cronin at his trade deadline press conference where he said, he didn't really want to get rid of a player. He wanted to add somebody.
They're happy with where they're at. They don't want to take a step back ever.
Yeah, they're happy with where they're
at
15-37. He's happy about how they responded from the bad road trip when they were 5-8 at the time of his comments since that road trip. Like, that was his comments. Their mindset is 100% to push for a play-in next year. Mm-hmm. They have their sights set on the play-in. It's not, their sights aren't set on contention. Their sights are set on a play-in. Their sights are set on getting more butts and seats.
Yeah. And just to be clear, this is because we're undoubtedly going to hear this. So I'm just going to bring it up preemptively. Joe said the team was going to be bad and to bear with us for a while, right? He says that when we were trying to win with Dame, too. Like, this thing takes time. It's going to be bad. He says that because half of this fan base is just buying anything that he says without any sort of, like, questioning of him or whatever. So what he did before this season on Media Day was set it up so that the fan base thinks we're rebuilding, but the front office was not planning on rebuilding and thought they legitimately were going to be better than everyone was predicting them to be this year. And then he would look like a mastermind, right? If we were like where the Rockets are right now, right? Like hovering, like even if we were 5 games under 500 right now, he would look like a genius because, like, oh man, look how good all these players are playing, and we weren't even supposed to be good according to him this year. And then he was going to get all this credit again for being such a great GM, and he was setting us up for that moment, and now, but he was also covering his butt just in case they weren't good. Then he can just say, "What do you want? Like we're never going to be good this year." He was playing both sides, and they were going to take all the glory if they were good. But it didn't even make sense to be good this year, right? Even making the play-in, and it doesn't make sense next year either with how poorly they played this year. It's not like even if your young guys take a huge jump, it's still going to be a year or two before they're ready to make that jump organically. So in my mind, you don't force it. And I feel like they're going to keep some guys they should have traded that people are now assuming they're going to just wait till the offseason to trade. And I don't know if they're going to trade those guys. It sounds like they might just keep them all and try to run it back next year with adding a couple of lottery picks and, not being able to do anything else in free agency.
Yep. Bad mindset to be in. It's not good. This is where I have an issue with ownership because it's from the top down. And this team is probably going to have to get sold for it to fix itself.
It's a Dame, hopefully.
It's a Dame, hopefully. Dame wants to buy a share of the Blazers. I don't think he can be the majority owner. I don't know if he has the bags for that, but maybe. But what was I going to say? Crap. Forgetting. Damn. I don't remember. Oh, I remember. No, I remember. You know what Joe Cronin's the best at? PR.
Moving the goalposts so everyone
PR
gives excuses. Yeah,
he's a PR genius.
Yeah,
he's masterful actually, and it's the one thing he's really really good at. You literally brought in a guy who worked with Olshey in the front office. Everybody hated Olshey, but you brought in a guy with Olshey who didn't even have to interview for his job, didn't have to go against a single other candidate. Gets hired by the ownership group that even the people that like Cronin have a lot of question marks about.
With no experience.
With no experience as a GM. Okay, his only experience is literally working under Neil Olshey for the most part.
Reading his notebook.
Yeah. So you bring him in. He does next to nothing. He trades Norm and Rocco for next to nothing. But, they were in the tax. So they got out-leveraged. Okay, whatever. He trades CJ, gets back a pick that would only convey if they're in the lottery, and then the Pelicans with CJ. CJ helps them play their way into the playoffs, and we only get a Milwaukee first. But meanwhile, the Pelicans still have the 8th pick in that draft because Cronin couldn't back up a good case scenario for the Pelicans with the same pick he was trying to trade for, right?
How do you know that wasn't on the table, though, Tori?
Yeah, but see, this is where all the narratives start to just like build up in a way that starts to contradict each other. Because you look at the Norm trade where they were out leveraged because they were in the tax, and now you got a bunch of people saying, they'll be able to trade Malcolm Brogdon this offseason. They're just going to wait till the offseason when the market's better, right? But they're going to be projected to be in the tax in the offseason. So based on the excuse of the Norman Powell trade, they shouldn't have any leverage in a Brogdon trade, right? But no, that doesn't apply here. Pretty much everybody agreed, we're going to trade Brogdon at the deadline. We're going to be able to get something good back for him. And now the goalposts have moved to there's no market for him. As I've said, you can always excuse an activity because if nothing gets done, you can always sit there and say, well, there wasn't a market for it. That's why it didn't happen. Which takes complete blind trust in the fact that the GM wanted to do the best thing for the team or the GM wanted to trade the asset. It was the same thing with the 3rd pick. Nobody wanted to trade anything for the 3rd pick while simultaneously saying Scoot Henderson would go number 1 in other drafts when he was available at 3, right? It's contradictory. And, the whole thing where, Dame hates Joe, all the saga from last offseason and all that, I truly believe he didn't want to trade the pick. And now you hear him literally say that he didn't want to get rid of players. He wanted to add a player. But people were still acting like he wanted to trade Malcolm Brogdon and there just wasn't a market for it. Okay, Interesting. I literally have had arguments with people that have tried to say they've tried to excuse Joe Cronin by saying, you shouldn't believe what Joe Cronin says because it's all PR. And they're using that as an excuse for the things that he says that contradicts each other. He is such a good PR guy that he has people excusing him by saying he's a liar, but it's okay because it's just PR.
GM speak. Yep.
It's just GM speak. That's how good his PR is. That these guys are using PR as a defense when he has them suckered in because of his own PR. You got layers to this. He's actually a genius PR guy. I don't know how much of this was planned, but it's actually fascinating to watch.
Every press conference he does, he contradicts or lies about something. That's an obvious lie because we have his other press conferences where he'd say the exact opposite. Like, we need a Josh Hart at every position, and then, oh, we had to trade Josh Hart. Like, Scoot's not your average 19-year-old. He's going to show everyone how talented he is. And then, oh, no, we expected from the beginning that he was going to struggle just like every 19-year-old and all that kind of stuff. And, it drives me crazy that people just buy that crap. And the worst part about it is the kicking the can down the road. It's always every freaking time, Tori. And it's such an easy, just you don't have any argument, so you can just say this. And sure, it probably makes sense to a lot of these people who say it, but the just wait till next time thing drives me absolutely crazy because people don't realize, and that's why we try to explain why we're upset when we don't make a move at the trade deadline. It's because every time so far that Joe has done something, it set himself up to not be able to do what these people think he's going to magically do at the next trade window. And it goes back to the cap space of 2022, where we didn't actually have cap space because the plan all along, he had already basically agreed to contracts with Anthony Simons and Yusuf Nurkic prior to them being free agents. And we weren't going to have cap space at all that summer. So it didn't matter what they thought he was going to do with that cap space because we were never going to have cap space that summer. And then go back to this past summer. Every single person I talked to said there is zero chance Jody will not be willing to pay the tax this last offseason to build a winner, right? They were all, every single person that defended Cronin told me that they got out of the tax with Josh Hart last year, and Joe sat there on the trade deadline press conference saying, you're going to have to trust me. We're setting ourselves up to go all in this summer, right? And everyone thought that was just 100% true. They were going to go all in for Dame, right?
Yep.
And they were going to go in the tax, right?
Yep.
Who out there told you guys at that trade deadline, before Joe even opened his mouth, that they made trades? All their trades only make sense if they are planning on trying to duck the tax again. That was right here on Blazers Uprise. We're the only ones who think about that stuff and are smart enough to figure out, in terms of media people, that I'm not saying you guys out there watching. I'm just saying, most people don't even think about that stuff when they trade Josh Hart for expiring contracts and things like that, that they were setting up this team to not be in the tax. Yet every single Cronin defender was telling me, dude, they're 100% going to the tax. Don't be stupid. They duck the tax, the repeater tax, blah, 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 repeater. Because heard that over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And now we're telling you guys they're making moves to do a certain thing, to be good or whatever, and it's looking like it's going to be very hard to duck the tax, and everyone's just telling me, oh, it's so easy, you're really overcomplicating something that's really simple to do, and that's go from being $5 million into the tax to not in the tax at all. And even if they're able to pull that off, it still limits all the moves. And then I hear, well, who cares? We don't get free agents anyways. It's it's a case where it's not about that. It's about when you're in the Blazers situation, you should not be worried about the type of stuff that they are setting themselves up to be worried about. And they're putting themselves in a position where they're going to have to give like Robert Williams away to OKC or Memphis because they all have cap space or a trade exception or something for basically nothing this summer just to be able to have some room to do stuff. And that's the kind of situation a rebuilding team should not be in. They should be the team getting a Robert Williams for free or getting a bad contract along with some picks or something. They shouldn't be the team that's going to have to pay to get under the tax for a freaking 20-plus win team the year before. Like, it makes no sense. And this is also why we told you last summer they didn't have the right contracts to trade out or to attach to the third pick, and it was going to be really difficult for them to find the right value having to trade Anthony Simons along with the third pick, because in their mind, that's a huge overpay. So they weren't willing to do that in most situations or even explore that option. And so it gets really, really frustrating, man, because we're not trying to. We don't want this to be the situation, but we can see it coming a mile away, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, the PR is phenomenal. The narratives, I mean, there's always a narrative to excuse anything he does. And I told you guys, he could do literally nothing at this year's trade deadline, and there will be people that'll excuse it. He'll have a bunch of people taking his back. Okay? He smartly did the opposite of Olshey. He made nice with a lot of media guys that now will do his bidding, now will toe the company line. You got the radio voice who basically works for the team that will go on Reddit and defend this front office to anybody on Reddit. And it's like, okay, well, he's entitled to his opinion, but I wouldn't expect him to talk about anything that would negatively reflect on said team, right? Like, he's not going to do that, and I don't even blame him for that. He's the radio voice of the Portland Trail Blazers, so he's just going to go on Reddit, toe the company line, and people eat it up. It's like, if I want a true, factual, honest account of the situation regarding this team, why would I take it from somebody who is really close to Joe Cronin or somebody that works for the team? Mm-hmm. Because they're too close to the situation. They're too close to the situation. There is obvious bias there, and that's a problem. And it's like, I understand that that's how it's going to be with those guys. The only thing that I have a problem with those guys is when they start to talk down upon people from that place of bias, as in, you don't know because you're not close enough to the situation like me, right? That's kind of an attitude from a lot of people. And that's just where it becomes a whole war of narratives and becomes legitimately tiresome for us. And it's exhausting. So, luckily, All-Star break's coming up soon, Eric.
Yeah.
In like 2 games, but it's go ahead.
Well, I keep seeing the NFL being brought up, so how can Jody be bad when she's running the Seahawks, right, and willing to fire Pete Carroll and all that kind of stuff? I mean, first of all, Pete Carroll said he got tired of the non-football people interfering. But the NFL is completely different. The NBA has set themselves up to where if you're cheap, you have to do certain things to avoid being cheap or whatever, or to like make sure you can be cheap. And the NFL has basically a hard cap, and they make a crap ton of money. No matter what you do, you're making a ton of money. It's a cash cow. You're always going to get attendance there in Seattle. You're always going to get the money from fans and all that kind of stuff. Like, you can't screw that up, basically. Yeah. You just let the team do a thing. Like, John Schneider can pay whatever players you want because there's a max he can pay him. There's not like a decision, should we go into the tax or not, like the NBA. And that is a huge difference.
And if she cares more about the Seahawks than the Blazers, how's that a good thing for us? How does that excuse her when it comes to us? If she's more willing to spend more money on the Seahawks than the Blazers, how does how's that good for Portland? I don't understand people that compare the fact that she owns the Seahawks and the fact that she owns the Blazers to one another with a different salary cap. And I mean, if she runs the Seahawks like a fan and runs the Blazers like a business, that's not good for us. That's I understand at the end of the day it is a business, but I want an owner that's committed to winning with us, not with the freaking NFL team.
Yeah, and in the NFL, you basically have to spend up to the cap. There's no way around that. But the thing is, though, okay, so they make the Russell Wilson trade, and they actually make the playoffs last year. But did they make the playoffs this year? And what happens if, I'm not rooting for this or anything. Despite the Seahawks being the Niners rival or whatever, I'm not like that kind of fan or whatever. But Mike Macdonald, by all accounts, should be a good coach. But what if he's Chauncey or whatever, and that team doesn't make the playoffs for the next few years, doesn't find their quarterback, and doesn't it's certainly possible that starts to go downhill, and then you'll find out how good of an owner Jody is in that situation. But I don't know, they had some success for one season after Russell Wilson was traded, and they were hoping to do that same thing, mimic that exact same thing here in Portland, and it didn't work out, obviously, with our record this year. But that was their kind of outline or blueprint for this Dame trade. And, unfortunately, it didn't work out. But in my mind, I'll still stand by this. I am ready to embrace a rebuild. I'm sure a lot of you are too. I was ready for it. It sucks. It sucks losing and not caring about games and stuff. But if they went all into the rebuild, I would be completely defending them right now, right? I would be like, okay, they made some tough decisions. It wouldn't have been my path, but I am fully on board this. Yeah, they traded their veterans. That was perfect. That's what they should have done, even if they got a little less than what they thought they would get for them. They set themselves up to be in a good cap situation this summer. And moving forward as a young rebuilding team, that's all you could ask for. And I would be 100% behind them for those moves, and cautiously optimistic that maybe now that they moved on from Dame and didn't have that riding over them, that they could maybe build something. But now I have no idea what they're doing. They think they're just going to magically solve all these issues this summer, but they've made their job way harder to do that, and so I just don't know what's going on or how I can justify any of that.
Yep, that's where we're at. Shout out to JD the Dev with the $10 donation. Says, love that we've had consistent Tori and Eric streams after we had a lull there when it was both you guys together for a few weeks. That's all. Love you guys doing this. Thank you, JD, for the $10 donation. Yeah, I mean, we're here after every game. We're dedicated to the team. So, even when it's rough. But I'm not going to lie, I am looking forward to the All-Star break. I need a little mental reset. But we do our best to make every stream fun and unique and interesting and talk about different things. And, I try not to go into the same thing too much stream after stream after stream after stream. We may do it for a couple streams, but
yeah,
I always try to keep things fresh if I can. It does get tough this time of year, though, when you're playing guys like Ashton Higgins as your starting point guard.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ashton Higgins, though, for being in the league. Congrats to him. Shout out to Brady Sieg, $2 donation, says, Eric, what does your source think of Cronin?
How do I want to say this? Put me on the spot. I didn't see that question.
Do you want to think about it? Think about it for the next couple minutes, because I'll respond.
I'm cool. I just want to say the person doesn't have, he's cool with pretty much everyone, both within the organization, both players and front office. So He doesn't have any issue with anyone. It's not like anyone's mean to him personally or anything. He just is close to both players and front office personnel. So he doesn't have an issue with any of them.
Yep. Thank you, Brady. Good to see you. Appreciate the donation. Taylor Packer says, by the way, I feel the same way about the stuff Demers says on Reddit. He's biased as hell and would never be able to say negative stuff, so why is his opinion valuable and the people there treat his word as gospel? Yeah, I mean, absolutely, man. Like, I don't blame him for not being able to say negative stuff. I don't blame him at all. I just don't understand why people treat it as gospel, because at the end of the day, like, a guy like there will go on Reddit, people treat it like gospel. A guy that works for the team that's not going to say negative stuff is just going to excuse anything that's done. I listened to him on the radio the other day for a little bit, and it was just like some of the stuff that he was using to explain away the deadline made absolutely no sense. Kind of drove me crazy. And basically, it creates this culture when you have media guys doing it, voice of the radio doing it, creates this culture where you have a large group of people that think any criticism or any complaints regarding this organization whatsoever, all the way from the ownership to the GM especially, even down to the coach at times, any criticism is sacrilegious stuff that they absolutely cannot stand for, and they will attack. Like hounds. And it's like if you criticize the organization, it's almost a personal attack on them. On a large section of this fan base. And it's created because of stuff like Travis Demers will go on Reddit, and, you know, I'm not blaming Travis Demers, but he'll go on Reddit. He's not going to be negative towards the fan base. He's going to explain things away. And then people are going to treat it like gospel and be totally cool with anything that's happening. And it basically creates a situation that no matter what this organization does, it will get explained away, and you will have a large portion of this fan base completely accept it. And therefore, you have people that will always attack any criticism, no matter the case, for this organization. We're sitting here at 15-37, and we literally kept our veterans. We literally, like, have narratives that are contradicting each other all over the place to excuse things away. None of it's consistent. We've explained it numerous times, and it still doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So that's where I'm just completely exhausted. I mean, I literally said at the start of the season, I even said to some people that were disagreeing with how hard I was on Cronin, I said, okay, for the people defending Cronin in our chat at the time, before the season, if he doesn't trade him by the deadline, will you finally start criticizing him? I had multiple people say yes.
Mm-hmm. How many of those same people did?
A lot of those people then moved the goalposts. I literally asked that question as a bit of an experiment, Eric. And I'm going to start asking that question more and more. I asked multiple people on Twitter that were going at me defending Cronin. I asked them, okay, well, if he's kept past the offseason, will you start criticizing him for it? Yeah. Okay. I don't expect that to be the case, though. And that's the problem. You can have an organization that runs their best player out of town, that's 15-37, that has won 3 playoff games in 5 years, that is cheap, that is going nowhere, and people will act like it's genius work. It's amazing to me. And that's where it all goes back to the PR machine around this team is phenomenal.
Well, that's why they basically led Dame on for 2 years, was because that was the perfect situation. They could keep avoiding the tax, and Dame was loyal and would not want to leave. And so they still were competitive, and Dame was still drawing in fans and made the team interesting. But they didn't have to go in the tax because they always kept saying, oh, we're setting ourselves up to first we have to clean up the mess that they were left with from Olshey, and then they could do it. And they kicked the can down the road as far as they could until Dame was just like, screw this, you guys are liars, and realized that. So that was the best scenario for them. Dame stays loyal, and they just continue to not pay the tax, but being somewhat competitive every once in a while, make the playoffs or make the playoffs for 8 years and
keep putting butts in seats too.
Yep.
And they literally want to go on a route right back to that.
Yeah.
Where they're just putting butts in seats. They're just competitive enough to put butts in seats.
Yep.
But they won't pay the tax. Absolutely not. It's why Jody Allen is a terrible owner.
And if she does just to prove some sort of point next year, that's even worse in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like we keep Malcolm Brogdon just to pay the tax so she could like just, I don't know what. But yeah.
Taylor Packer is talking about Jason Quick getting attacked.
We didn't talk about that article, but can I just say one thing before we switch to that?
Sure.
I just want to give a shout out to Rich. Post in the link, go watch it after this show. He did a video with the Joe Cronin press conference from the other day. He's really good about bringing up what he said in the past versus now and all that kind of stuff. So if you want more on just why we feel the way we do about this organization, and in particular Joe Cronin's PR spins and all that kind of stuff, go check out Rich's video where he breaks down everything Joe Cronin says.
Yeah. Yep, 100%.
It's a quick article.
So Quick had the comment about the Deandre Ayton, the tardiness and tantrums thing. Mm-hmm. Do you guys, and this is kind of a question, this is a question for everyone, but also specifically a question for Taylor, because me and Taylor in chat have gone back and forth on Ayton all year long. Do you remember the post-game show where I was hinting at stuff with Ayton that made me sour on him early in the season?
Yep.
The tardiness and tantrums comment from Jason Quick is true.
Yep.
It is 100% true. Like, he's not just going to make that up, and it's not false. Like, I can't go into details, but it's not false.
You were sworn to secrecy. You couldn't even really tell me many of the details, but that was like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So whatever stream or whatever date that was, Tori told me that the organization is really frustrated with him being tardy and he's late to a lot of.
Don't go into details. Don't go into details. Don't go into details. But yeah, like it was a problem earlier in the year. He's been better lately. He's played better. Supposedly he's been better in that regard too. Mm-hmm. So good on him for being better, I guess. Like, I haven't had as much criticism for him lately, partly because of his play, partly because his attitude has seemed better, right? But it's just funny because Quick phrased it, the tardiness and tantrums thing earlier in the season. Yeah, that was a problem earlier in the season. Absolutely. And I hinted at it on post-game shows with the hope that you would, maybe somebody would break it. Quick breaks it, and there's a bunch of people saying, "Why would you make this up? You don't have sources." Blah, 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 blah. Just ridiculous. Now, maybe you could have phrased it better. Maybe you should have reported it earlier. Maybe you shouldn't have waited until now. That was a scathing article about the GM and, his performance. It wasn't anything personal, right? Mm-hmm. But it's valid criticism. And that's a perfect example, Taylor bringing that up. That's a perfect example of, a piece like that criticizes the direction the Blazers are going. They're 15-37, just ran their best player out of town who demanded a trade, who is never going to demand a trade. And criticism for it, people cannot take. They can't handle it. It's a perfect example.
It has to be Quick that's wrong, not Cronin.
Yeah. And Taylor says it was disgusting to see how many people went straight to calling Quick a liar. They straight up can't handle any information that doesn't align with everything being amazing with Cronin and company. Absolutely, Taylor. Absolutely. And it's sickening. It's frustrating. It's so annoying to deal with. 100%. And here's the thing. Quick has had articles and things and incidents with like players and the organization in the past where he probably deserved some heavy criticism, right? Yeah. And people will bring up some of those things and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to argue any of those things. And I was arguing with people on Twitter on this. The tardiness and tantrum comment was true though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I heard him on a local radio show flat out call Dame a bitch. They're like,
did he really?
Yeah.
Who did that?
Quick did.
Oh, I was thinking Ayton for some reason.
No, Quick.
I was like, what? What was this? Yeah.
Because Dame confronted him about saying the Blazers need to explore trading him or all that kind of stuff, and then I guess like Dame stopped talking to him or something, and so yeah, like I mean he's definitely not this front office's favorite person. He's gotten limited access to a lot of things that he normally in the past has gotten exclusive or like a lot of inside information just by being around the team and stuff like that. Now he's hardly ever around the team. But it's most of that article. I mean, you can spin it to like he's just hating and is a Olshey. He was good. He had a good relationship with Olshey, so he's going to blame the organization now. But most of what he said is exactly what we've been trying to say in terms of his criticisms for Cronin and his inactivity, and then also like you said, I mean I don't know how we can fake something 2 months ago, Tori, you could fake something 2 months ago and then have an article come out about it, but us like not like that not being true, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, but that's the thing is like Quick will be the guy to talk about that stuff. Other people won't. Mm-hmm. Other people won't. I'm not just making this up. I promise you, I'm not just making this up. Other people won't talk about it. I don't blame them for that. At all. At all. I don't blame them. But they're either work for the team, essentially, or they're really close to Cronin, and they won't. They won't. So instead, they'll go on a radio show talking about how Ayton's going to become an all-star and prove why he was the number one pick and blah, 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 like somebody did before the season. That's what they'll do. This is the way. This is the way the media machine is set up around this team. And people get bought into it. And we are here to deal with it. So, it's not... I would love nothing more than to just clean house, new ownership group, new GM, new front office, new media around the team. Right? I would love to just completely refresh on everything because the way it's set up is just is a headache to deal with. But anyway, enough on that. JP Savvy, member for 2 months, says I'm late. Did I miss Tankathon? No, we'll do Tankathon next. I do have something fun planned, Eric, though.
Oh, nice.
Maybe it's fun for people. I don't know. The All-Star Weekend is coming up, and they finally announced 3-point contest, dunk contest, and so forth. And you the viewer, Eric, you if you want to, you can get in on the action for All-Star Weekend with BetUS because you can bet on the winner for any of those contests. You can bet on the winner for the All-Star game. And I just want to go through, and based on the lines that BetUS has, I want to pick our winners who we'd place a bet on for all of these contests. Once again, with BetUS, you can get a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits by using our link at the top of the description box below and the promo code JOIN125, JOIN125. Skills challenge, do you want to pick that, Eric? That's always just kind of random.
Yeah, it's just a guess.
Yeah. Rising Stars tournament. I know Team Detlef is the one with like the G League Ignite players. What team is Scoot on? Chat, do you remember?
Well, Sharp was on Jalen's team.
Yeah. So Scoot was on Tamika or Team Pow?
I think he's on Tamika's.
This is where we rely on chat.
Aeromancer
Team
says
Tamika. Shout out to Aeromancer. Team Tamika. So Team Tamika plus 190 to win the Rising Stars tournament. It's not just a game, it's a tournament because you got 4 teams, which allows them to play a little bit more. So get to see Scoot in the Rising Stars. I'll actually be watching that just to see Scoot in the Rising Stars, you know?
His third time in that.
If you want even more of a reason to root for Scoot and his team, you can place plus 190, Eric, on Team Tamika for the Rising Stars tournament. But here's the fun stuff. The 3-point contest, the dunk contest. The favorite to win the 3-point contest is our own Damian Lillard at plus 450. Then you got Malik Beasley, who's in the contest. His teammate right behind him, plus 500. Trae Young, plus 500. Halliburton, plus 550. I believe Halliburton was one of the finalists I think it was last year. I think he did pretty well. The second favorite is Karl Anthony Towns there at plus 475. And then the long shot is Donovan Mitchell. Based on these lines, all these lines are pretty even. But based on these lines, chat, let us know who you're taking in the 3-point contest. Eric, who are you taking? Obviously, we just want to probably go with Dame, right? But
yeah, I'm going Dame.
If I'm not... If I
can't bet on Dame...
Yeah, because I feel like chat will also all say Dame. I'm not looking at chat right now. But let's say you can't pick Dame. Who you going? Who you going with? Trae?
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, I think, will get tired earlier. He jumps pretty high on his shot. I don't think Laurie is a bad pick. I don't remember how he did last year, but Laurie might be I don't know. Is he a pure shooter, though? I feel like
GC
Halliburton.
Sports legend Aeromancer say Tyrese, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Halliburton, because he's plus 50. These guys are plus 500. I don't trust Trae Young or Malik Beasley over Halliburton. I'd just take that extra 50 on the line there. So, I mean, I'm rolling with Dame, but he struggled shooting the 3-ball. Like, honestly, I'd probably rather place a bet on Halliburton. Halliburton is one of my favorite players in the league, too. So, you know, obviously he ain't no Dame, but plus 550, pretty good odds there. Slam dunk contest, Eric. We actually got an all-star in the dunk contest finally. Jaylen Brown. You got Jaime Hawkins Jr., Jacob Toppin, Mac McClung. Mac McClung is the heavy favorite, minus 200. So you'd have to bet $200 to get a $100 return on top of investment for Mac McClung winning. Are you taking those odds, or would you rather go with a dark horse?
Well, personally, I think Jaylen Brown has 0 shot to win.
I agree.
I just don't think he's going to be that creative of a dunker to beat McClung. Hawkins, I like his game, like in an NBA game, but I don't see him being a good enough dunker or creative enough dunker either. I mean, I know Jacob's brother is really good at dunking, but I have no idea how Jacob Toppin is. So
yeah,
I'd probably just be safe and bet on McClung. But if I was going to bet on someone else, it would be Toppin, just because I don't know him. Just like not a lot of people knew McClung last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, we got an all-star, but it's like, yeah, he has no chance to win. Your top 2 guys are Jacob Toppin, who I didn't even know was on the Knicks. I forgot he was on the Knicks. And then Mac McClung, who's a G League guy. I'd probably just take the plus 350 on Jacob Toppin. Like, I think those 2 guys are in the final for sure. And that just, you know, hopefully Obi can give him some pointers, because Obi's done it before. I just take the plus 350 on Toppin.
Let me rephrase this, because I certainly think this is possible. So the only way Jaylen Brown could win is if it becomes into a miss fest and everyone's missing their dunks and doesn't register a high score, and Jaylen Brown just does some simple dunks to register scores. But other than that, yeah, I don't see any way of him winning.
Jaylen Brown's gonna have to get really creative, because he's a power dunker and he's not like a super high flyer. So he's going to have to bring an element of creativity to it that makes it cooler, because he's not just going to be able to out jump or out hang time the other guys in this contest. So, yeah, Jacob Toppin plus 350. And this is just a way to make these contests fun. Pick somebody, place some money down, use the bonuses that BetUS is giving you with our link with the code, and you can root on a guy like Jacob Toppin in the dunk contest. All-Star Game MVP. You got before we do that, the 3-point challenge specials who will win the contest. The 3-point challenge between Steph Curry and Sabrina. I probably just want to put money down on Sabrina because Sabrina's going to be using WNBA balls. And if you've seen her in a 3-point contest before, Eric, she lit it up like insane.
Yeah.
So I think she can beat Steph based on what I've seen her do before. So I would just take the plus 160 here for this.
Yeah, I agree.
Too bad we don't also have
fun.
Kevin Hart versus Draymond Green. Because Kevin Hart would have been like a plus 1,000 and Kevin Hart tied and they still gave the trophy to Draymond Green because it was a comedy bit. But Kevin Hart tied him. Speaking of Draymond Green, he got into it with Nurkic tonight. We can maybe talk about that if you guys want to. All-Star Game MVP, Eric, do you have a pick here?
Kind of like Halliburton, just because home crowd. I think he's starting, right?
Yeah.
He's starting with Dame,
Yeah.
so it's not like he won't play a lot or whatever. So he's starting. He'll get a lot of assists, push the ball up and down the court. So yeah, I like him. I guess. And then you always have like Steph Curry and Dame could get hot from 3 and maybe do something. But yeah, I'm gonna say Halliburton.
Yeah. I think, like, based on these lines, Tyrese Maxey might not be a bad pick at plus 3,000. Like Tyrese Maxey, Paul George.
I had to see him, like, not playing a ton,
Yeah, that's the question. Because, Tyrese can score and can shoot the ball, like, crazy well. So I could see him going off, But Anthony Edwards, I think, could be I think Anthony Edwards might be my pick, honestly. Plus 1,200. And he
seems
took,
like go at people,
Yeah, dude, he had there was a clip. I was listening to a clip on YouTube that was like NBA players trash talking mic'd up, and it was Anthony Edwards in the All-Star game. I can't repeat what he said, but he was just talking shit to, I think it was SGA after he scored on him. So Anthony Edwards is going to bring a little bit of an edge to it. Plus 1,200. Plus 1,200 on him being All-Star MVP. I actually like that. I don't think he's going to win it over like Tatum or KD or whatever, but you don't get as much money if you pick those guys. So based on the lines, I would actually go Anthony Edwards plus 1,200 here.
Yeah, I like it.
So anyway, those are All-Star Specials brought to you by BetUS. Make sure to use that link at the top of the description box below and use the promo code JOIN125 to get 3 deposit matches of 125%. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the post-game show.
We had another donation from MGJJ123. He says Westbrook, but he meant Pat Bev now playing with Dame. There was some bad blood there. Think now that away. They both want to win. I think this is a good pickup for the Bucks and their defense. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's competitiveness when they're going at each other, going against each other, so.
Yeah. I thought that game last night, I thought he showed like a different element that the Bucks haven't had all year, and it was kind of refreshing to see him out there. I don't think he's like the difference between a title or something, but if his little scrappy mindset can rub off on a few of those defenders that have been struggling this year, I think it's a good pickup for them.
Yeah. And if he and Russ can play together, then he and Dame can definitely make it coexist peacefully.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just funny. Like, what is he going to play with Chris Paul next year? That would complete the trifecta, because Westbrook, CP3, and Dame are the 3 guys he's gone at over his career. Let's cue up Tankathon, Eric. Did you watch any college basketball games today?
Yeah. What games did I watch?
Did you watch the Gonzaga game?
I did not watch that one. I have it recorded. I watched.
We did something, Eric. We did something.
Yeah.
Our best win before that was like at home against San Francisco. And we beat Kentucky on the road in Lexington. So we did still probably not making the tournament if we don't win the WCC tournament, but at least we did something this year.
I watched Miami, North Carolina, Duke played Boston College.
Okay, so let's start Miami. Wooga Poplar takeaways.
He's okay. I don't know. Like, he doesn't jump out at me. Yeah, he's fine, but I like Nigel Pack better. But then I wonder like why that team isn't better this year. Like they're kind of struggling lately. I know they put up a good fight today, but every time I watch them, I'm impressed with why am I blanking on his name? I'll be right back. Let me go find it. Who's their like big? He's like more of a power forward, but
I probably recognize his name, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I'll see if I can find it first. Racing to the phone. See if I can beat you to it.
Oh, Omir.
Omler? Omir? Oh, it looked like an L. Norchad Omir. Yeah, junior. Yeah. He's averaging almost 18 a game. He's hitting the three at 37%, 6'7".
He's always 6'7", which is the problem. But he's always impressive inside. But he's not a wing. He's a big man. But he's going to be super undersized for the NBA. Yeah. So yeah.
Poplar just like 3-and-D guy. He was 1 for 6 today. He struggled. My guy Jalen Tyson is starting to get some buzz.
Yeah.
So against USC, 27 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 10 for 15 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3. I'm just curious what he measures at because he looks a little shorter than 6'7", but like if he has the size to play the 3, he's averaging over 3 assists a game on a bad team, 7.5 rebounds, over 20 points. He's shooting 37% from 3, 79% from the free throw line, rebounds the ball well. He is probably going to be a first-round grade for me because he's shifty too. So you know me, I like my movement pattern guys. Like a guy like this, you got production in multiple areas and they move well with the ball. Like they're crafty and have some size. NBA body, like has some strength. Like seems like a pretty sound prospect to take a chance on. Only going to be 21 on draft night, despite being a junior. So that's one of my sleepers right now. And then Jameer Watkins was a guy at Florida State that I was talking about. I don't see him on this board, but I just saw a recent Locked On Big Board podcast talking about how he's a riser. So these guys could be targets with either of the Blazers' second-round picks, which are now projected 34 and 40. Like, even though they're second-round prospects that aren't as flashy, they still make sense to pay attention to, especially as we get closer to March. It's about a month till Selection Sunday. So these guys, if the Blazers can hit on one of these picks, it just makes the rebuild easier. They got 4 picks to hit on. So
can they sign any of their picks, though, or are they going to have to give them away?
Oh, God. I'm not even going to worry about that yet. But, yeah, that's a problem. What other games? You watch Duke?
Duke, Boston College. Yeah, I mean, didn't really take anything new away from that one. What other games were on today?
A lot. It was Saturday.
Yeah, so. I know. There was some other games on at the same time that I watched, but I was flipping back and forth. But
yeah, Kansas barely beat Baylor. They've lost a few games in Big 12 play. Jacoby Walter had 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists on 5 for 12. 2 for 9 from 3, though. Messi, however you say his name, 21 points, 6 for 9 from the field, 9 for 12 from the line, 8 rebounds, couple of blocks. He's a first-round center, right now projected 15th. There's basically 4 centers that I'm looking at in like the same range, which is Filipowski, Klingon, Messi, and Khalil Ware. Right now, if I had to just pick one, I'd probably pick Messi.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that last stream. I agree.
Yep. Any other takeaways from Anything you watch today? Oh, look, they got Chomchi in the first round, Eric.
Nice. Let's go. No, I've seen Jared McCain now on a lot of big boards since I was watching Duke today. He's tough because they have Roach and Proctor, and so I don't know if he'd be better if he was on a place where he didn't have so many other players on the same team as him. But yeah, he's really tough to evaluate. He hits his 3-point shots. Obviously, he's good from the free throw line, but doesn't get there a ton. He rebounds well for his size. But he doesn't handle the ball or pass enough for me to really evaluate him and only being 6'3", I'm not sure if he can play point or if he's just a shooter.
Yeah, he's a little skinny too. He's a shooting guard and a point guard spotty.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand first round love for him, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, he's good. It's just it's more like college good, I think. Kind of like his teammate Filipowski.
Yeah, agreed. Proctor finally bounced back from that tough stretch he had, but then the last 2 games has been real bad. He was really bad against North Carolina. This Duke team, even Filipowski at times is a little bit more inconsistent than you'd think.
Mm-hmm.
At least shooting the ball. He'll have a dud every 3 to 5 games where he just does absolutely nothing, and it's against Notre Dame, 2 for 8 against Clemson, 2 for 9 against Notre Dame again. The last 5 games, Eric, what is that? 2 for 17 from the 3-point arc the last 5 games for Filipowski. 3-point percentage down to 35%.
Mm-hmm.
Free throw percentage 65%. I just don't think he's a good enough shooter to be a lottery pick in the NBA because you're not drafting him for defense. He's 7 foot, but I don't really like him as a center defensively. I don't really like him as a power forward defensively. I don't like him guarding pick and rolls. So he has to bring some special things offensively, but he doesn't have a ton of burst off the dribble. I think his dribble drive stuff he does in college is going to be hard for him to do it at the NBA, especially if he struggles shooting the 3-point ball, which I think he might. He is not a lottery guy to me at all.
Completely agree.
So he might be. It's funny because he's projected higher than Klingon, Ware, and Missy. I might have him lower. I need to see more of Ware, but I have him below Klingon. I have him below Missy. So
yeah,
and I wasn't a big Filipowski fan last year either, because we thought he was going to declare for the draft and maybe be a target with the Blazers' 23rd pick.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys, though, that's a big name in college, putting up 21 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3.5 assists for Duke. So there's a lot of people that get hyped up off that. But at the end of the day, does this game translate to the NBA level? I don't think it does.
Yeah.
So, that is the problem. Shout out Hawaiian Brian with a $5 donation. Says, have you watched Cliff Omarui at Rutgers, and do you think he can make a team next year? Unfortunately, I haven't watched Rutgers at all this year. I'll be watching them next year because they'll have Ace Bailey and what's his name, Dylan Harper. But I haven't watched them this year. Have you watched who he's talking about?
I actually watched a little bit of them against Wisconsin today. That was another game I was flipping back and forth between. Mm-hmm. I don't know, he's tough because he's a 4th-year guy. And he makes plays, seems pretty athletic, but then he doesn't shoot well. Free throws are an issue. He doesn't really shoot threes, but so that's he's just not a 3-point shooter, not enough attempts. But that's not necessarily terrible, but yeah, good rebounder. Obviously blocks a lot of shots. I don't know. Measurements will be interesting. If he's a legit 6'10", 6'11" with a long wingspan, I can maybe see him being something. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It seems like there's like 10 of those guys that could all be that similar type build. He doesn't really stand out a ton to me, but I think he does have a chance to maybe separate himself if he has a good combine, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep, fully agree. Watched a lot of Reed Shepherd today as I watched that Gonzaga game. He had no points in the first half and then like 19 in the second, or it might have been more than that. Just went off in the second. Kentucky got back in the game. Gonzaga pulled it out late. He finished with 21, 8 for 14. He didn't hit a single three, Eric. It was weird. He was 0 for 3 from 3, but 8 for 11 from 2. 3 assists, 5 rebounds. Had some impressive finishes. And he's just... I'm at the point where I feel like I have to put him in the Booz Ellis tier because he's just way too solid of a prospect.
Yeah.
He shooting 54% from 3, bro. Like, this is going to go down a little bit because he went 0 for 3 today, but passes the ball, plays defense, elite from 3. Even if he doesn't have a ton of upside, he has such a high floor. He's not like the type of prospect that I normally like to put close to my top 5, but in a draft like this, he's just so freaking solid, man.
Yeah.
But his measurements are going to be key, I think.
Mm-hmm. If he's point guard size instead of shooting guard size.
Yeah. Right now, for me, something for me to come to a conclusion on in the next month or two is who I like better out of Topic and Shepherd because I'm lower on Topic.
Yeah.
So, any other prospects you want to talk about?
Well, I hope hopefully Topic can play later in the season and get a little more tape on him.
Yeah.
Richardson has been really good after struggling for a couple games.
Yeah, 46% from 3 is 6'9", whatever he is. Looking forward to his measurements too.
He's flashing some creation and passing in the last couple games as well. So
yeah, I haven't seen the last couple games, but for me, that's how we can move into my top 2 or 3 is seeing more flashes of upside in terms of creation.
Yeah, because
for the most part, he's just looked like he'll be a good role player. He'll knock down threes, and then like he'll occasionally attack closeouts, make something happen, but it doesn't feel like much of a creator. So that's the biggest thing for his draft stock for me.
That's why I'd had Salon ahead of him, but if he starts showing some of those same things, it might be a conversation.
Yeah, 100%. As far as the tank race goes, the Blazers still 5th, 2.5 games away from Memphis, 4 games away from Charlotte. Golden State's pick has fallen to 13th, Eric.
Up to 500. They look really good lately.
Yeah, because Kuminga's playing really good lately. So they're 2 games away from it being 15th, which isn't even in the lottery. Yeah, it's fallen out of the range we're hoping it would be in.
Well, if they make the playoffs and it's 15, at least we guaranteed to get it, right?
Yeah, see, at that point, though, like...
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I'm not worried about a 5% chance of losing it at 13. We'll see if this Tankathon sim puts it into the top 4, but, like, 10-11 range is perfect to me.
Yeah.
If it gets up to 9, you know, you get a little high there, 20% chance, 1 to 5, right?
Not that I'm rooting for an injury, but we need an injury.
We need a what?
Not that I'm rooting for it, but we need an injury.
Who does? What do you mean?
Just someone important on Golden State.
Yeah. See, I'm not going to put that out there, but...
No, I'm saying I'm not rooting for it. It is...
Yeah. We need this pick to be as good as possible. I just want them to start struggling again. Kuminga just looks too good, man. Kuminga just looks too good. But we need another Draymond suspension. Because they don't win today without Draymond.
Yeah.
And Draymond was getting at it with Nurk, so was Clay.
It looks like he's headed towards another suspension.
Yeah, he didn't learn anything, I don't think. So still a very angry person. All right, let's simulate this thing. Scroll up from the bottom like we normally do. At 14, you got the Lakers. At 13, you got the Blazers via Golden State. At 12, you got OKC via Utah. At 11, you got Chicago. At 10, Atlanta. So far, so good for the Blazers. At 9, I jinxed it. You got Houston via Brooklyn. Which means, who moved
Houston, or OKC via Houston, which means Houston keeps their pick.
Houston's always moving up with their own pick or this pick, man.
So Houston gets a top 4 pick and 9th.
Yeah.
That's kind of like our best case scenario.
Yeah, maybe we do want to be like the Rockets. At 8, you got San Antonio via Toronto. At 7, you got Memphis. At 6, you got the San Antonio Spurs, meaning that your Portland Trailblazers have moved up into the top 4. At 5, you got the Washington Wizards.
Not Detroit.
Not Detroit. So Detroit's top 4 with Portland, with Houston, and with
Charlotte.
Alrighty. At 4 is Detroit. So they're not 5. They're 4. At 3 is your Portland Trailblazers for the second straight stream. They are 3rd for the second straight stream in the second straight year. At 2 is Houston, and at 1 is Charlotte.
Charlotte?
Yeah, might as well call them Sarlet. Right?
Sarlet.
Yeah. You like that?
Creative.
And then I'm sure, like Houston, Holland, you can figure out something there.
Javoni, I think it was him, had Ricochet up to 1 on his board.
Really?
Yeah. And he's the one who about this, or it might have been in January last year, moved Miller up to 2 ahead of Scoot 2.
Yeah. I mean, if Ricochet, I don't know. Do you think Charlotte would go Ricochet?
I don't know if Charlotte does.
I mean, they could start him at the 4 or start him at the 3 and move Miller to the 2. It's just kind of interesting there.
Yeah.
All right, let's just go with that. Charlotte goes Sar, Houston goes Ricochet, and then we go... I don't know. We trade down to San Antonio. This is literally exactly what we did last stream. Where the thing is, if we move up into the top 4, there's a decent chance that San Antonio moves out. So if we move up to like 3, that could realistically be a trade down option with their pick from Toronto and their own pick if we don't like what's at 3 and Topic is on the board.
Yeah.
But the more Golden State's pick moves down, Eric, the more it becomes a conversation of Portland's own pick and Golden State's pick for like 6 and 8, if that's where San Antonio's at.
Yeah.
Let's say Ricochet goes 2, Topic is there at 3. I would do 3 and 13 for 6 and 8.
Yeah. I probably would too.
Yeah, because if they're going to take Topic at 4, you got Cody Williams, Holland, or Salon that you're guaranteed for at 6.
Yeah. Or Dillingham.
I love how the conversation was like, how the conversation just shifted since the start of the season, where I was like, man, if Gar's best player on the board,
yeah,
might have to take him.
Well, what if we take... See, yeah. Okay. I'm asking them... I'm only doing the trade if they promise us who they're taking, and it's Topic or a guard. So like you said, if we have 4, 5, and 6 with Cody Williams, Salon, and either Holland or Ricochet or whoever doesn't go in the top 3. Yeah. Then I'm doing that trade. Because if you can guarantee I get one of those guys, and then you get the 8th pick to pick, you might even still get 2 of those guys.
Yeah, that would be the hope.
Yeah.
Is that like Memphis would go Walter and Washington would go with like Buzelis, or Detroit would go with like Buzelis, where then like out of those three, you'd have two of them. Because, if you could trade down and get yourself Cody Williams at 6 and then Salon at 8, which I think is possible, then you're cooking. Yeah. Then you're trading Jeremy Grant, right? Just kidding. Nah, we're never going to play Salon for like 4 years because we got Jeremy.
Yep.
But
next year we'll play Ruper over both of them.
See, I mean, yeah.
We wanted to play this year, but yeah.
Yeah. I thought you guys wanted to play Repair. Yeah, that'll be the question next year. But if you could, I just want to find a way to get 2 of those guys. If we don't get Sarr, I want 2 of Cody Williams, Salon, and Ron Holland. And maybe throw Ricochet in there too.
Yeah. Yeah. And once Chomsky shoots up into the lottery, we've got to get him too. No, man, this is so dumb though.
What?
If we had 6 and 8,
yeah,
and we get either Salon or Cody Williams,
yeah.
If Dillingham's at 8, I'm taking him.
Well, see, not knowing enough about Chomsky, if all 3 of those guys were off the board and, Chomsky stock's higher, right? I don't know. Maybe you reach for him at 8.
Well,
this is the type of draft where I could see a team doing that.
Yeah. Still, I'll wait to see if he declares for this draft and how his workouts go and what his measurements are and all that stuff. But, yeah, if he's, fringe lottery, then I don't think it's a stretch to take him here.
Yeah. See, but if that was the case, if we do that trade, right, and then at 8, Dillingham's there, and there's a team that really, really wants him, then I'd try and trade back from 8 for, I don't know, hypothetically, the same pick in the Golden State range plus something else. So it would be you kept the Golden State pick, right? But you traded down from 3 to 6 and that's something else.
Or maybe you it's possible you could just trade 3 for 6 and a future pick or something.
Yeah, I just like getting 6 and 8 from the get-go to have the chance at 2 of those guys. And then if you can't get 2 of those guys, then you can move off 8 if a team really wants to trade up and take a guard and see what you can get for 8. But that would take Joe Cronin working the phones.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Or maybe it'd take Mike Schmitz. Maybe Cronin would just give Mike Schmitz the phone and he could contact all the GMs, all the front offices. I don't know how it works. Whatever.
Taylor Packer says if we draft another guard, I'm switching teams.
Hey, if it's Dillingham, that dude is so cold.
The reason why I'd be okay with that, assuming we traded Brogdon.
Yes.
We're already trying to make 4 guards work. I'd rather have a young guard that has star potential than Brogdon. But it's totally contingent on us getting either Cody Williams or Salon at 6. Because if we get one of those guys, I think we're fine. I think we got our guy there. So then I think the other pick we can afford to just take whoever the best player is and hope that it pans out. I wouldn't want to just reach on a center because we need a center. I'd much rather just take a guard, even though he's a guard, and hopefully you get trade value up or something. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing with 8 there with those guys off the board. I mean, who else? I would consider Reed Shepherd there if he has the size to play some too, because he would be a really good complement to Scoot, to Ant, and we need more shooting.
Yeah.
And if he's good enough, maybe you do move off Ant in the future, right? So, or maybe they move off Sharp in the future. they're not. Things are so fluid that you get one of your forwards at 6, then at 8 you just take best player available, and if it's close, then you go for a Buzelis, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's where it's like, that's where I start to be comfortable taking a Buzelis. That's where Stephon Castle, depending on his measurements, if he can play the 3, then, like, maybe start looking at him. He's been playing better lately.
I think Cody Williams is a 3, so if you get him at 6, I don't think you really care about reaching for a 3 there, you know?
I mean, but it's like, if you're gonna... I'd rather take somebody that can maybe play 3 positions, right?
Yeah, true.
It makes it easier to figure out in the future. And it's a little bit more unique of a player. I mean, like, the other options are Filipowski, Klingon, Collier, who's a guard, right? So the other non-guard options are like Filipowski, Klingon, Missy, Ryan Dunn, who I don't like. He's just offensively brutal.
Yeah, I'm not taking any of those guys.
Yeah, like Claware, Dalton Connect, if he can play the 3, I guess. You know, like, I like Connect. He can shoot. But he's not a forward. He's a wing.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Smith, like, who are you taking there then at 8? Like, I'm not taking Tyler Smith at 8. You know what I mean? So that's the problem. That's what we could run into. And that's, I mean, well, that's where I'd be like, okay, fine, screw it. You know, let's take Chomsky then.
Yeah.
Just swing on upside.
Yeah. Tyler James says, Eric, would you ever just take Cody at 3? Yeah, absolutely. If we don't move back, I think.
I would too. Tell me if you agree with this, Eric. I want to word it this way. I'm not higher enough on him compared to the other forwards in that group, like a Holland and like a Salon. I'm not that much higher on Cody Williams that I wouldn't want to trade back to 6 and maybe get one of the other guys and get something extra.
Yeah.
Right? With Topic on the board at 3.
Yeah, I'm just saying if you couldn't move back, if you had to stay at 3.
Yeah.
I have no problem taking Cody Williams or Salon there.
Yeah, 100%. Because for the Blazers, there's if you're not counting guards, there's a clear top 5 for the Blazers, and then there's a massive drop-off. And that clear top 5 is Sarr, Reese Shea, Cody Williams, Ron Holland. Okay, it's a top 6, my bad. That clear top 6 is Sarr, Reese Shea, Cody Williams, Ron Holland, Buzelis, and Salon. And Buzelis, I probably have last out of all those guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Buzelis in that list. But it's...
But Buzelis
he's on that tier.
He's at the bottom of that tier where, like, I would be okay with taking a chance on somebody of that size with, like, some skill at 8 and hoping that his poor shooting in the G League was just a down year, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he was getting serious number 1 pick buzz going into the season, and if he was shooting the ball like people expected, I still think he'd potentially be up in this range. Like, he would be looked at as a Reese Shea. The thing is, he's just struggled shooting the ball, but he was looked at as a much better shooter than this coming in. So, can he figure it out? He is shooting from a deeper 3-point line than Reese Shea. So, I don't know. But that's where, like, Buzelis, that's that 6-man tier. Sarr, Reese Shea, Cody Williams, Salon, Ron Holland, Buzelis. The next non-guard after them is who? For me, it's Connect. Well, Connect's kind of a guard to me, though. He's a wing.
Yeah. It's tough because, there's some tweeners. The next non-guard...
The next forward/center, right? Because Cody Williams is a small forward, Reese Shea small forward, Buzelis small forward, power forward, right? So if we're looking for forwards and centers instead of guards/small wings, who's the next guy after that top 6? Filipowski, Klingon, Missy, Claware, Tyler Smith, Bobby Clintman. You know what I mean? Like, that's far below that. So that's why if we end up moving into the top 4 but don't get number 1, don't get Alex Sarr, I want to try and trade down in a way where we can try and get 2 of those top 6.
Yeah. I probably, if I'm just saying who it is, if we're eliminating all guards, and Chomsky. I'm probably saying it's, I guess, Missy.
Yeah.
Maybe Cole Ware. I don't know. It's,
Massive drop off though, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the draft experts on Twitter keep trying to tell me that Zach Edey's the number one prospect in the class. God. Driving me crazy. But, yeah, it's just a drop off there. So, I want to try and get 2 of those top 6 if we can't get Sar. If we could get Cody Williams and Salon, it's a home run, and I'm praising the ground that Mike Schmitz walks on.
Yeah.
Y'all thought I was going to say Joe Cronin. Anyway. That concludes that.
And that leads me to something Tyler James sent to Discord during this stream.
What did he say?
And that's a Blazers Edge article talking about having too many first round picks is a bad thing.
Oh, God.
They said Oklahoma City's only good because they have Chet Holmgren and SGA.
They have young players that got good. Okay. What?
So they said if they didn't have those two, though, then you wouldn't be talking about how great all their first rounders are because they don't hit as much on the other ones. So.
It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, that's the point of trying to make trades for young players and picks and taking a bunch of chances in the draft. They also got Jalen Williams, who's really good. That's the entire point. How is he so close to the point but doesn't get it at all?
Mm-hmm. It says 6 of their 10 prize picks come in 24 and 25, with the former at least forecasted as a weak draft. Most of them come from winning teams that are all projected against lottery jackpots. Now all of a sudden, instead of going, ooh, you're saying, oh. If the Thunder stink right now, you rightly predict that their own picks, the ones they had prior to any trades, were their best shots at moving forward.
Bro, what?
They're not in a great shape because they have a plethora of picks. They're in a great shape because they made a fantastic trade and accurately assessed one lottery selection.
So they got lucky in the SGA trade, but they traded for SGA. And isn't Scoot Henderson supposed to be Chet? I don't understand what the point is here.
Yeah.
Like, isn't Scoot Henderson supposed to be that guy? I mean, you can trade a bunch of picks for a freaking star. Why do all these people, Eric, act like if you have future picks, you have to draft with them all? So many people act like that. Did they not just see the Siakam trade where 2 of the picks in this bad 2024 draft got traded for Pascal Siakam? I mean, they're currency. They're fluid assets. You don't have to draft with them. That's why they're prized, is because you can do multiple things with them. Or if you know how to scout, you can draft the next Pascal Siakam, who's the 27th pick in his draft.
Get this story.
I don't even.
Can I even say this out loud?
I'm ready. Yeah, go ahead. I'm ready to cringe.
Because Oklahoma City, most of their picks aren't good first-round picks, they are actually saying that because Portland has 2 pick swaps and 2 unprotected first-rounders in 2029, that they have way more high lottery potential than OKC has with their picks.
Okay, bro.
Having 2 extra firsts. And
one of them's Boston, which is like one of the best. What? What?
Dude, I'm just reading what the article says. This is great.
Guys, this is what we have to compete against. This is what we have to argue against. We have better draft pick capital than OKC, guys, because we got 2 firsts and not one. We're missing one of our own, so we got 1 extra first. Yay! Better draft pick capital than the team with 1 million of them. Let's go. I mean, my goodness, bro. My God.
And that's just ignoring, like, the picks they've already had because their rebuild started before.
They literally got Jalen Williams because they had extra picks.
Yeah.
Duh. If they didn't have extra picks, it would have been harder to get Jalen Williams because that wasn't their own pick.
And let's just assume, like, there's a certain percentage hit rate on any pick, no matter what it is. Wouldn't you want more chances to hit that percentage than not hitting it?
Yep.
Like, if you put all your eggs into, like, 1 or 2 high picks, that's usually not the best way to build a team. You have to hope that it's a
high pick, and then you have to hope that that high pick pans out.
It's like the next LeBron or Tim Duncan or something.
Yeah. Because if you draft the next Jarrett Culver, you're screwed. Because you put all your eggs in that basket.
This totally reads as like an article to just dismiss anything Joe Cronin does poorly because
100%.
Because we have those picks and he won the Dame trade.
If we had all those picks, if we had all the picks that OKC did, people would be talking about how great it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever, man.
And some of those picks, like we talked about this because of the like Miami trade and some of these other trades where, so I forget the exact details, but didn't they just give up one of their first just to have a swap with Dallas like 5 years from now or something?
Something like
or
that.
4 years from now. And then, so they're like taking a risk that Dallas could be bad or maybe Luka leaves in 4 years. Mm-hmm. And then we talked about this in Miami, like they have it's 1 year lottery protected and then it's unprotected the next year. So how is that necessarily, if that doesn't convey in 2025 and moves into unprotected in 2026, how is that not high lottery potential?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand.
Exactly. Like, is the Clippers swap unprotected that OKC has in 2027 that much worse than the 2028 Milwaukee swap? Like, Paul George and Kawhi are getting up there in age. They've been injury prone. You know what I mean? Like, they have a top 5 protected 2029 first round draft pick from Denver. Okay. How is that pick any worse? I know it has top 5 protection, but is that really that much worse than an unprotected 2029 Boston first? Both those organizations are probably still going to be pretty decent even 5 years from now because Denver has Jokic and Boston has Tatum and Jaylen Brown and a bunch of pieces, and they're well run. So how do we have that much? Like, it's just selective bias.
Having too many diminishes their value. Executing picks isn't like walking into Walmart with your credit card ready to buy whatever you want, no matter who else has been in the store before you that day. It's more like Walmart on Black Friday, where 2 spectacularly discounted TVs are available. If you're third in line, let alone 24th, the value of your position drops precipitously. How is that a good analogy? Because if there's only 2 TVs, anyone past 2 wouldn't get it, whereas we know for a fact there's all kinds of positions outside of the top 2 that turn into stars.
Yeah, that's
you just have to pick the right person.
Yeah. And if you have multiple chances to pick the right person, you're more likely to end up picking the right person. It's a terrible analogy. I mean, this is just the type of... I don't have the energy. Chat, I'm exhausted. I can't wait for the All-Star break. This stuff takes years off my life, bro.
It's also, like, okay, maybe in OKC's situation, at some point, we all agree they should probably start cashing in some of these picks for a player that helps them win. They seem pretty close to their, I don't think they're 1 right now, but they've been 1
Yeah.
or close to 1 the past few weeks, right? So like you can definitely make the argument that having these picks might not be the best thing moving forward, that you should trade them for a player that fits. But you still get an advantage of having those picks. It's not like it's bad to have them, because they could basically tell a team to name your price and they can match that almost, like for almost any player in the league.
Yeah, you know what it is this organization hasn't rebuilt since basically 2006, 2007 when they got Roy Aldridge and Odin. I know they had a down couple of years and ended up trading for the pick that got them Dame, right? They traded Gerald Wallace. But you know what's funny? We trade Gerald Wallace, we get the 6th pick in that draft, and then we draft Dame, right? I feel like some of the logic used to, like, why would you want to trade the vets? Would have been used back then, where we shouldn't do that trade. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that's a direction that people wouldn't want to go now. But also, it's like, okay, we make that trade, it works, but we didn't really go on a rebuild process. We draft Dame, he's great right away. We still have Aldridge, who's an all-star, right? So we immediately bounce back after a couple years. Okay? This is our first legitimate rebuild in a long, long time. People don't know how to think it through.
Yep. And that's a problem to worry about later down the line when you're good. It's still not a bad problem, but like right now, you want to accumulate as many assets as possible. You don't want to be like, we don't need assets. We just need to worry about our own stuff. Like, that makes no sense. Like, what are we doing? That's not a rebuild. That's you trying to be good, which is exactly what's happening, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, I got a lot to stress about this weekend because the Super Bowl's tomorrow.
Let's go Niners. Come on, baby.
Yeah. Let's take one quick look at Super Bowl odds and then get out of here. 24 hours from now, I wonder how I'm going to be feeling, We'll see. But once again, this postgame stream brought to you by BetUS. You can receive 125% bonuses. Not 1, not 2, but 3 125% deposit matches with promo code JOIN125 by using our link at the top of the description box below to sign up, and you can get in on the Super Bowl. They got spread lines. So San Francisco, I teased this at the start of the stream. They're 2-point favorites.
Hasn't moved in days.
So you know what I saw that kind of explains this is Vegas is supposedly trying to balance the money on this game in the Chiefs' favor because there's a lot of big futures bets on the 49ers where, like, at the start of the season, people bet for the Niners to win the championship, and if the Niners win, Vegas will lose a lot of money because of those future bets. So they're trying to get more money on Kansas City to offset that.
Yeah.
And that's why the Niners are favored by 2, where a lot of people expected the Chiefs to be favored. So if you guys want to get in on this line, it seems like it's in the Niners' favor because of other circumstances. I think without that, the Chiefs would honestly be favored, Eric, as much as it pains me to say it.
Yeah, I did hear that too, yeah.
So you can get points with the Chiefs if you get... What is going on? You can get points with the Chiefs. What's up?
What? For the first time, I had an ESPN video play.
Yeah, it's strange. It
was on my phone, too.
Yeah, that's funny. But you guys can get in on this line for the Chiefs. I think it's a really good line for the Chiefs, honestly, as much as I hate to say it. And considering I'm a cursed sports fan, right, you can maybe benefit off my pain and off my cursed fanhood if you really want to by using that link in the description box below. Promo code JOIN125. Getting in on this line for the Chiefs. You can also get in on prop bets. They got coin toss bets. They also got, if you go over to football on the left and scroll down, they got novelty props, national anthem props, passing props, politics props, receiving, rushing, sports drink, Kelsey and Swift. There was a prop, Eric, that made me laugh. Let me see if I can find it. Where was it? There's so many. Dude, there are so many Taylor Swift props, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing...
There it is. There it is. Will Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift announce their first pregnancy at the Super Bowl, Eric? Yes is plus 850.
Yeah.
I like the ones that are yes or no, though, because it's a definitive answer. So, yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff on here. What were you going to say?
What if she puts, like, $1 million on that and then announces she's pregnant and then it's not true?
She fake.
Like, technically she announced her pregnancy.
Yeah, interesting. Oh. I don't know. Would she be allowed to do that?
I don't know. I mean, technically it's not her.
Well,
she's not the one setting the props, but yeah, maybe.
True, yeah. Interesting. Well, Travis Kelce proposed to Taylor Swift and win Super Bowl MVP is plus 1500. I mean,
That's so low. That should be way higher, but
yeah, they come up with some, like, what will she wear? It's just funny. It's fun. So if you want to get in on any of these funny props, of course, there's props for the game too. Super Bowl's always a ton of fun because of the betting props that they have that make the game fun. It's a big event. You got advertisement props as well. I know commercials. A lot of people love the commercials for the Super Bowl. There's a lot of effort put into them from these brands, so you can bet on those. A lot of fun stuff at BetUS for this game tomorrow. Chiefs 49ers getting on the action. 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits with my link.
Are we streaming if we win?
Below. I don't know what I'm doing if we win, dude. I don't know. I don't know how to win it. I don't know. You know, yeah. That's undiscovered frontier for me.
See, the whole 49ers being favorite is crazy because Andy Reid's 3-0 versus Kyle Shanahan. Patrick Mahomes is got the most dominant numbers indoors. There's that weird stuff with the team traveling west versus the team traveling east has won I don't know how many Super Bowls in a row. There's a rematch of Super Bowl teams that have played together almost always goes to the team that won the first time, even if it's different teams, completely different teams. All these numbers or trends, all favor the Chiefs, every single one of them. It's just oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yep. So if you guys feel confident about that spread line, make sure you use BetUS. Hopefully the Niners take care of business, though. Or hopefully, for your sake, they win by 1, although I might have a heart attack if that happens. So I don't know for my sake if that's great. But shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the postgame show. Link in description to sign up and find out more. I'm nervous, man.
Yeah, me too, man.
I kind of tried to put myself in the mindset that the NFC Championship was a championship game. So I kind of, that one was, hit me.
Well, it could have been worse. We could have lost that game very easily.
I know. When I put myself in that mindset, then it started exactly like the Huskies game against Michigan, where we just get the ball ran down our throats. But luckily, the Niners came back. Unfortunately, Huskies couldn't come back. But man, yeah, get the job done. Let's go. Very nervous. I will be a mess on Twitter tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm either have to do something. I can't decide if I want the game to happen quickly or if I never want it to start. I'm torn between the two.
Yeah, it's one of those where if we win, all the pain of being a Niners fan, even a sports fan, kind of goes out the window. Mm-hmm. If we lose, I will be broken.
Yeah, if we lose, I don't know how much we can ever think we're gonna win one. It's just
So big stakes, you know? Big stakes. Either way, this is the game of my lifetime tomorrow.
I think I'm gonna have to start drinking at like 8 in the morning.
You might as well start drinking now.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, we will see you guys again next on Monday for Blazers Uprise Live on our second channel, Blazers Uprise Podcast, link in description. And then we'll have another post-game show on Tuesday. The Blazers got 2 days off here. So, we'll see how that stream is on Monday, because that stuff, this game is going to hang over into that stream on Monday on our second channel. So hopefully you catch up with us. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate all you guys.
Go watch Tori's video from earlier and Rich's video.
Yeah. Shout out to Rich. Shout out to myself, and shout out to you, Eric. And shout out to chat. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you guys for tuning in, making us a part of your night, even though this team is making us want the All-Star break to be here. We appreciate you guys being members of the community. And we will try our best to make the rest of the season as fun as possible.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the challenge for third year in a row, Eric. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you. We'll catch you next time. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.
And 49ers.